Hello and welcome. This is Abdul Hafiz, and thanks for stopping by to give us a listen. Episode number 10. Okay, number 10. Wow, 10 seems like an important number for some reason. I mean, 10 years old, a decade, the number 10 in football. I mean, on numara, if you speak Turkish. 10 seems like a really... It seems like a milestone of something. So I just thought maybe, hey, 10th episode is a sign for us to take this up a notch. So that is what we're trying to do. Thanks for supporting, by the way. So this episode was recorded on the 17th of January, 2021. And there's a reason why I'm giving a date, because we recorded this before the inauguration of the President of the United States. And we said something about what was happening the past week or the week before in the United States. And so I just wanted to give the date so that you can actually contextualize what we said and why we said that. And because this episode is coming out after the inauguration, so I felt it's just right to contextualize what we said. It's just a small part of the beginning of the episode, and I hope you'll enjoy it. And if you like our episode, if you like our podcast, wherever you listen to the podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, even on YouTube, we'd like you to leave us a like, rate us 5-star, share with your friends, and we hope you like this one. Thanks for stopping by and have a great listen. We hope you like it.
That is a new African in the world. The black man is capable of managing the whole world.
Welcome to the African Experience Podcast, your podcast for fascinating discussions, stories, and interviews from the diaspora. Your hosts, two ordinary Africans.
Hello, fellas. Welcome back to today's episode of the African Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Abdul Hafiz.
And I am Yakubu Ali.
The missing man is back.
Yes.
Yakub, where have you been, man?
Yeah, we've been very, very preoccupied. And, the schooling going up and down, final papers, so many things at the same time. And also the coronavirus. So I'm a little bit preoccupied, but I thank God I'm back, and I hope I'm back for good. How have you been?
Alhamdulillah, man. Alhamdulillah. I've been all right. I mean, people were worried you've been kidnapped by some aliens or something like that.
It's possible. There's nothing impossible to us now.
That is true, man.
The coronavirus has made everything possible. The invisible enemy. So it's possible. But I'm around. Yeah.
Oh, great. I'm doing good too, man. I also was a bit occupied this week, but luckily we have the lockdown on weekends, and
yes,
it's really helping a lot, man. It's really helping with the state of mind of a person. You have the time to actually, you have the time for yourself. Time for yourself. Yeah, man. So what do we have for the listeners today, man?
I think this one will be the extension of episode on the slavery. I don't know the number of the episode.
Yeah, that's true.
But we started an episode on slavery. We talked about the emergence of slavery from the Arab slavery, or we said maybe the how do you call
Trans-Saharan slave trade.
Trans-Saharan slave trade, yes.
Yeah.
And then we also talked about the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah.
We couldn't get the chance to talk about the modern slave trade and the slave trade that you also
Yes.
might be interested in, which is the technological
slave trade.
Slave trade, yes. So I think it will be much, much better if we can talk about the modern form of slavery that we are seeing, and then maybe we can also talk a little bit about the technological slave trade.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what we have on board.
Yeah, man. All right. Before we actually go into it detail, I was thinking about something.
Yeah.
Why don't a powerful country invade the United States of America? Hear me out. Hear me out. So
I wanted to ask, why are you interested in that?
all right, so throughout history, or the recent
let
history,
me tell you this. I also read something funny on the internet when there was this insurgents in the United States last week.
Yeah.
Someone was saying he was calling on the government of Ghana, in case they also want to go for peacekeeping in America. He is ready to help.
They should take him, yeah?
Yes, yeah, he's ready to help.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. So, if we look at the Middle East, if we look at Libya, Syria, all these places that the United States have gone into, I mean, some people say they've gone into it because of oil. I mean, that is that is the underlying reason. But they claim they went into that place to install democracy.
Yeah.
So looking at
people
what
need freedom.
Freedom, exactly. And they try to take out leaders who do not want to get down.
Exactly.
Basically, what is happening in America now.
Exactly. Isn't it an irony?
Absolutely. So what do? We invade America and take democracy there.
Maybe the world does not have an organized army to be able to do that. So
yeah, I was thinking about it, and it was very funny. It was ironic.
It's actually a very, very big lesson, you know. Like, people can actually handle their own issues if you leave them to do their own thing, because cultures are different, religion are different, sociology are different, and the society of people are different. But whenever you decide to be the world police, of course, you are going to get the backlashes.
Responsibility.
And that's what the Americans have been going through. Always they have eyes on other countries, forgetting themselves.
That is true.
And now we saw what's happening. And, you know, there is still the fear that there might be something unexpected on the day of inauguration. When they are inaugurating Joe Biden.
That is true, man.
So they are on alert that anything could happen.
Yeah, man.
So it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting that this is happening in America.
Actually, maybe a friend of mine in the US, he was telling me that people are still pessimistic and they're very cautious to the fact that something might happen. Like very similar to what happened recently. Something worse might happen. And that is a really serious issue if that's the case, man.
Yes. And now, I think, as I said before, the coronavirus has taught us that anything at any time is possible.
Definitely.
You just have to be on alert.
Definitely.
And it will be very, very, very bad. And it will go down as a very, very sad moment in the history of America. And maybe the history of the world. Since whatever happens to America happens to all of us.
The ripple effect,
will go down. Yes, it will go down as the worst days in the history of the world. Let's just hope, like, whoever is planning will not come to fruition, because it's going to be very, very bad.
Let's hope so, man. Let's hope so. It's all good for the people around the world and the United States if there's peace, man. If there's peace.
Of course, no matter how much you hate America or how much you hate the West, you have to know that due to globalization, your life, your world is connected
It's
to them.
intertwined. Yeah, it's true.
Yes, so now we are using technology to talk. Who made this technology? We are using Facebook, we are using Twitter, we are using all the other social media platforms, which is one way or the other from them. And the economy is connected to them.
It is true, man. It is true that if anything, 2020 had taught us, or must have taught us, we now know the world is as close to each other as possible.
Exactly.
As ever, right? There's no time in the world that I don't really know if there was ever a time in the world that the whole world has experienced a very similar or the same problem, almost the same time. I bet there was a time in the world that I think it was the statistics was less than 30% of the world was outside. Every single one was in the room, locked down, and that is serious. So this is where we can know anything that happens on the other part of the world, on the other part of the ocean. The ripple effects is unseeable. We can't really see it.
Exactly.
And when you mentioned WhatsApp, it was, you mentioned the social media, Facebook and other things. Recently, what's happening with WhatsApp? It's what I wanted to ask you. Have you deleted your WhatsApp?
No. I'm using it.
You haven't moved to Telegram or Signal yet?
No, I didn't involve myself too much into that. I didn't think too much about that because I thought my privacy have been invaded for quite a long time in so many cynical ways, And I was asking myself, why is it that when someone said he has invaded or he's trying to ask my permission to invade my life, why am I sad or something like that when he can do it without asking me?
That's the key, though. That's the key.
You see? And nothing will happen. And all the other platforms that are calling us, come to us, are you sure that they don't invade your privacy?
That is a question.
You understand? So I didn't think too much about it and I didn't want to even read too much things about it. I just leave things the way it is. I'm using it. If it gets to a point where I can't use it, man, I leave. That's how I try to see the thing.
I mean, Elon Musk, remember the guy, that crazy rich guy? He's now the richest person in the world.
So we should make this also clear. It's part of our topic, Yani, is the colonization of people's
very
privacy.
Funnily enough,
we just entered into the technological privacy.
Exactly. Funnily enough, that was it. That was part of my technological privacy. Anyways, that's like way down into today's topic. But Elon Musk actually tweeted that he's moving to Signal from WhatsApp. And the funny thing is, the guy who created Signal was the co-founder of WhatsApp. So
welcome to the new world.
If anyone knows about privacy, but I think the reason he left WhatsApp is when WhatsApp sold the company to Facebook. And the history of Facebook. He didn't really like the fact that WhatsApp had to sell to Mark Zuckerberg. And, Mark Zuckerberg has had plenty of problems with the government and other people about invasion of the people's privacy and stuff like that. But very interesting, yeah? So what's interesting to me is the fact that people think now is the time they're going to invade you. Bro, they've been already doing that.
That is the crust of the matter, you see.
Yeah. They've already been doing that. It's just that they're now making it public to you.
Yes.
I get the end-to-end encryption thing. They really won't. All these are just bogus, man. If you lose your phone, for example, and then you buy a new phone, and then you use the same number, do you get that? Do you get your messages back? Yes, you do. That is what backup is for. So what is to say that they can decrypt your messages?
Yes. How do you back up? Where did you back it up?
Yeah, it's
You
interesting.
understand?
Very funny.
I really didn't want to go into it too much because it's kind of become a bandwagon to me. Like at a certain point, someone just came out and said, these people are stealing your privacy. And then everybody was talking, yes, we
Yeah.
shouldn't do this. And people, here in Turkey, people are saying, look at China. China has their own application, the WeChat and all these things. Why is our government not also having an application so that we can also move to there? And I was like, you people you can eat your cake and have it. You understand?
Yeah.
Like today you say the government is having too much power on you. There is no freedom of speech. There is no democracy. Now WhatsApp is stealing your privacy or stealing your information or invading your privacy.
And you're
now
asking
you are
the
calling the
government.
government to come.
Yeah.
And now the government will come. Don't worry, it's easy. The government will come, he will do the application, and then later you say, okay, we can't do anything. The government is invading us. What do you want? You have to choose one.
Funnily enough, you don't need the government. WeChat, whatever, wasn't created by the government, obviously. But you don't really
Of
need
course.
the government to create stuff like these. There was recent, I think last year, there was this similar to WhatsApp chat, beep, 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 beep. Have you
Yes.
heard of it?
Yes,
That's
I've
the
heard
name.
of it.
Beep,
I
beep.
never use it.
It was a Turkish company. I mean, it was a Turkish person who created it, but people never really thought of it anything. Just like
Yes.
how this recent guy has created, my namesake, by the way, Mr. Hafiz. Yeah?
Yes.
He created
Yes.
this, I think, Sub Africa.
Exactly.
Yeah, and people are like,
And if I would want to move, I would want to move to that.
in case you want to move away from WhatsApp, that's
Yes.
the better
I
alternative. eh?
actually wanted to download it, but I couldn't find it on the iPhone
Oh,
store or how
okay.
do you call it. So
I haven't looked into it yet, but I will, inshallah, I will.
yeah, I have a lot of friends who have downloaded it and they were like, man, it's great. It's just like WhatsApp, you just need people to talk to.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of people using it, then my friend is good.
I mean, I
haven't used
just
it
hope,
before.
I just hope it works properly because it's all about support.
Yeah.
You shouldn't expect it to be as good as WhatsApp right away, right?
Yeah.
Because it would need time, for example, storage and everything, and it's all investments. So I think that is all we need to do from now. Invest in
Exactly, and
ourselves.
some of the time, sometimes the problems we have, especially with our old Africans doing these kind of things, is management.
Yes,
You see, WhatsApp, there are millions of people, if not billions,
that's true.
of people using WhatsApp.
About
but
2 billion
in
now,
one
I
way or
think.
the other, in one way or the other, they find a way to manage it.
It's true.
But our people can do some things, and then after some time, it may crash. And people hate those kind of things.
It needs investment, though. This is technology you're talking about. Without investment, without a place, without a good broadband, without a place like Silicon Valley, without engineers, you can't really get this to go. If you've looked through the history of Snapchat, Instagram, and everything, they were crashing initially.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, I feel like we're moving the goalpost to a different place. So
Yes. So in your own point or in your own mind or idea, do you think slavery still exists in this modern world? In what term?
yeah, so slavery does still exist in this modern world. I mean, I alluded to the fact that there is this technological slave trade, or i.e., modern slave trade, as we put it. I think 2 years ago, either 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I watched a documentary on BBC, and it was very sickening, man. It was really sickening. There is this, the Gulf countries. the Gulf
Yes.
countries, we already know how they live. They live with home servants, maid, however you want to call them. But like you said in the past episode, it's also a kind of slavery. However, nuanced you want to make it look, right? The name doesn't make any difference as long as the person is a property. That is the definition of slavery, or maybe even chattel slavery, right? A human being as a property. So in the Gulf countries, there still is, if you'd believe, there is there are apps. There are apps that, you know how you take your product to Let's Go, or here we have Gittigidio, and then
Exactly.
or maybe even Amazon. In the United States, I think there's Craigslist. You can post a person. You can take the picture of your servants, and then you post them, and then you basically write how much they cost.
Wow.
And then in the description, you write, she is this, she's hardworking, she's lazy, she speaks Arabic, she's blah, 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 she's dirty. Man, if it's sickening. When I watched that episode or that documentary, it's unbelievable to the fact that the 21st century, we still have slave markets. And this is helped by technology. This is helped by apps that are on Google Play Store and the iPhone. The fact that Silicon Valley is aware of this, and no one is going to tell me that they are not aware of this, because it's being used by loads and loads of people around the Middle East. When you watch that documentary, the way they talked about those, and it's unfortunate that it's mostly our African sisters.
Yes.
The condition they live, the way they live in those Qatar, United Arab Emirates homes, they are less than citizens. They're not citizens. Even in some cases, when they get there, what happens is they pick their passport and then they throw it away.
They confiscate their passport.
Exactly. So all these things are aided by technology. The fact that this is still happening is beyond me. And it's sad that we all have embassies in those countries. All right, most of the African countries have embassies in Qatar, in UAE, and in other places. Even if we don't have the embassies, we are in an era where we can easily find out things of this nature happening. We can't say we didn't know about it. We can't say that. We don't have that right to say that we didn't know about our sisters going abroad to the Gulf countries and then doing all these. These are maybe like the ones we know about for now. There are other technology aiding smuggle, what do you call, child trafficking.
Yes.
And things that are related to actually selling humans as property. This is what the actual modern slavery, technological slavery I was talking about. It's basically the same thing, but aided by technology. Man, it was very, very sad.
Yes, actually, and as you were talking, or when you were talking, I was kind of thinking, at first it's used to be like people are taken out of their own will. They are forced to leave their own places. They are forced to go to these places and work for these people. But now, with passport, people even pay for their own transportation from
Yes.
one country to another. And we know most of these are happening in the Gulf country, as you said.
Yeah.
And it's very, very, very barbaric when you see the videos of what is happening there. But yet still, people are going there. So it's of our own doing.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. We have huge role to play to the fact that people are willing. Some people, they work for years to be able to buy a ticket, passports and everything. They work like 3-6 years just to travel and be a slave in someone's home.
It is a slave. It is a slave. There is no way we can define
Exactly.
this.
That is really, really bad. So I don't know, is it the government to be blamed here? I feel like they need to take majority of the blame.
Of course, and when you look, not just the government, an international organization, I know there are some of them that have been working very, very hard to make sure that they deal with these
Yeah, like the
kind of
Amnesty International stuff like
issues.
that. Yeah.
Yes, but even them, they don't get the necessary support that they need to get, because the government of people who are moving to these Gulf countries, and I know it's not just peculiar or exclusive to these Gulf countries. Maybe in America today, a certain form of slavery that is happening, but we don't see it. It's a kind of underground, you see.
Coming
but
to
in this
that, actually.
Gulf country, it's a kind of a living.
It's
it's
a
a
norm.
social thing.
Yeah.
It's a norm.
Yeah.
And nobody sees it as a problem. You see? And as you said, like, we have ambassadors, we have ministers, we have government who can step down. You see, who can be strong and demand that this country treat these people well, or they can
At the very least,
actually,
that's the best you can
yes,
do, man.
They can even stop people from going, because I think, was it India or Indonesia? Sorry, when I was reading about this, in Indonesia actually at a certain point banned anyone from traveling to the Gulf country, even though Indonesia is the most populated Muslim country. When they go there, they are treated as slaves. You understand? So it's our country and international community. But the interesting thing is, wherever there is money, there's a certain kind of personal interest when it comes to the protection of people.
That is true. That is true.
It seems like that's overcome the lives of people.
I mean, the government does not see that as an emergency that needs to
Yeah.
be tackled, right?
Yeah.
Including
That is where you hear something about something like the freedom of the individual to do what he wants.
yeah,
You understand? But when the person is killed, or when there is a group of people who are killed or die due to this instance, then the lip services starts.
yeah.
Will come out and start demanding. You don't demand, actually. You have to act.
Absolutely.
But that is where we are missing.
Man, it's very sad, because if I think recently there was this video circulating around Ghanaian girls who were in one of these Gulf countries. They were basically pleading to the government to come and take them away from this horrific situation. I mean, it was very, very sad. The fact that the government thinks it's not something they need to do now, or they need to even look at, or even create, I don't know, maybe a government body that is going to deal with this. I get the fact that this can be something secondary to the government, but just allocate this responsibility to another person. Maybe make a committee to research these things and get these people back. We've suffered enough. We can't really be looking at our sisters suffering this way and then sitting back and then thinking it's their choices. Bro, some of them who go there, they are below the age of 15 years old. How is a 12 years, 11 years, 13 years old, even 15-year-old little girl make her mind? How would you're not allowing a 15-year-old girl to get married because you said she's not matured enough, but you are fine with it when she travels to the Gulf countries. This is sickening. I mean,
It's
we're
unacceptable.
specifically talking about the Gulf countries right now, but there are different types of slavery, modern slavery that goes around. Like I said, child smuggling.
Yes.
There's still people taken to other parts of the world just to serve the rich. Really, in Russia, you can actually see all these things. In Far East, you can see this. Even in the West, as you mentioned, there are still a certain level of slavery that exists, and this is not acceptable.
But within that too, there are some people who are okay with it. The person feels
Absolutely,
like,
that is a
I'm
different
fine.
case. That is
So when will the people have the right to say, okay, this is my body, I decide to do whatever I want to do? The government can't tell me
I
what
mean,
to
they're
do.
saying it already. It's not when. It's what the narrative. The narrative now is it's my body, it's my whatever, and that's a different. That comes to a different type of philosophical argument when it comes to these issues. And
Actually, I have a professor who always say, my friend, it's not your body. You can't do whatever you want to do with it. He's a staunch supporter. Like, the government has to take things into his own hands.
is he
like,
is he a
as we are saying.
communist?
He's a Marxist.
Yeah. So I kind of felt where it was going. So yeah,
Yes.
This is one case of the technological slavery, and we can mention selling and other humans again and again.
Trafficking.
The second part of this is a bit more abstract. It's a bit more philosophical. The technological slavery here there is no one selling you, and we all are victims of this kind of slavery. I.e., when you mentioned Facebook, Instagram, and all these technology, is also the fact that we feel like we always need to go to it. They are like basically our masters. Yes, this we can argue about it in a philosophical manner, but it's the case. I don't know if you've watched the new documentary. It's on Netflix, The Social Dilemma.
Yes, I did watch it.
You watched it, bro. When I watched that documentary, I think I didn't really touch my phone for like hours.
Yes. You see, that's the interesting thing about all these documentaries and books. There is a book written by, I've forgotten his name. I think he's also this technological guru. He is very, very into this technology. And even when he wrote the book, it was like a criticism to the Silicon Valley and how they handle people's privacy and how they get people addicted to this social media.
And they specifically work on that. They have a group that actually go around, work on how they can make people slaves to these assets, to these gadgets.
Facebook introducing the like button, the love button, the care button, the sad button. It's all about addiction.
Yes.
Getting people back. Always people coming back to these platforms. And that guy, even when he wrote the book, he's still in Silicon Valley, but it's kind of criticisms. And I was told like he is the first person or one of the first people to create these applications.
I think I know who you're talking about.
The book was like, is it 10 reasons or 12 reasons to delete your social media account? And in that book, my friend, when after I read it, I think I deleted all my social media accounts. It was horrific.
I remember him. I remember he was in the Social Dilemma. He was actually one of
Yes,
the people,
yes, yes,
the
he
guy
was
with the
there.
long hair.
Yes.
Jaron
I think his
Lanier
name
or
is
something.
Jaron Lanier.
Yeah.
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 And when I read the book, I was like, oh shit, what are we doing? But after some time, I went back to social media again.
This is what I'm talking about. I mean, there are this is more neurological. I mean, maybe we may not be able to solve this problem at all, but individually we can try as much as we can, because we are so intertwined with this social media that it's almost our nature, right? I mean, like they said, the modern technology is like, it's like a knife, or technology in general is like a knife. You can use a knife to kill someone, or you can use it to cook a delicious meal. So, for example, right now, if you're listening to us, if any listener is listening to us, it's because of modern technology. So here we're not demonizing modern technology as a whole, social media as a whole, but the impacts, the fact that it takes us from our nature, really, it does. People, because your mind, I mean, doctors and neurologists, I can't even pronounce the word properly. Neurosciences, scientists, neurologists, what the heck? Is it neurologists?
Neurologist, yeah.
Neurologist, yeah, can attest to that. They can tell us how it's, and they've done a lot of research on this, how it actually reshapes your mind, basically, the dopamine and all these things. So these also, I think, honestly, can be included in a certain category of slavery.
Of course, most definitely. And I think in my case, even when I was reading the book, and he made it very clear in the book, like, you can't just delete everything or stop using social media, but you can start somewhere, little by little, until you find something better. For him, he said he doesn't use Facebook, he doesn't use Twitter, he doesn't use Instagram. The only thing he uses is Gmail, and even that he's looking for some alternatives. And there are other alternatives, as you know. But for me, I think the reason why I went back, it's about its social influence, I think. And now it takes me back to the sociology of the issue. And as an aspiring sociologist, I understand, because when I left the platforms, the social media platforms, I was fine. I was okay. Life was moving on, and I was happy.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, people started complaining, like, "Where have you been? Why don't you care about us? You are all here.
So
you
you
are not
came
here."
back?
Yeah, so you are forced to come back. You see, so now it goes back to what Emil Durkheim was saying, like, as an individual, everything you do doesn't come from you as an individual
alone.
Like, the society is like an organism, and all of us are like a part of it. The part of it.
Yeah.
We are just small organs within the organism, and we are performing our things to make this thing, the society work. So we influence each other. You understand?
Yeah,
so
whether we like it or not,
case,
absolutely.
Yes. In my case, it was the societal influence, and I've been thinking about how to get rid of this, but it's highly impossible.
Actually, there's this recent trend that is going around. It's called, I don't know if you've heard about it, or even if most people have, to be honest, dopamine detox. So basically, it's you gradually, it's you gradually freeing yourself from these dopamine-induced platforms, and basically the way you go for an alcohol addicted person. What do you call it? I can't. What's wrong with me today with words? A person who's addicted to alcohol, alcoholic person, and a drug abuser, and they go to rehab to come back to normal. But this one,
Sober themselves up.
dopamine detox is basically you actively freeing yourself from all these masters, i.e., the social media, technology, and other dopamine-induced things for periods of time. You can start slow. You can start, say, maybe hours, then days, then even weeks. There are some cases, some people have gone years without using all these platforms. So what happens is the slightest thing you do when you become used to all these, when the detox starts to work, maybe that's not the proper way to say it's detox, but when it starts to work, the slightest thing of excitement you do, you feel very excited about, because it's something new. You can imagine a little baby realizing that a small ball is moving around. You see how they're excited.
Yes,
But
they
for
try to
you,
follow it.
it's nothing new, right?
Yes,
So
exactly.
because you've trained yourself to withstand all these influences around, all these masters around, when you allow yourself to enjoy just a little bit, the enjoyment, the magnitude of the enjoyment is overwhelming. And then you go back to detoxing. And then you come in. It's an interesting concept. I don't know if it's going to work for everyone. I've not tried it
Are there people
myself
doing
yet.
it?
There are really. There's a community of it, honestly.
Wow.
The community of it.
What's
and
the name again? For the
Dopamine
benefit of our listeners.
detox. I don't know if neurologists actually agree that it actually works.
But if it's working for other people, it's working, Yani.
I mean, it's true. It's true. If you look at the previous or the ancient philosophers and thinkers we know about, they exclude themselves from the society and they go far, far away without the influence of anyone for a very long time.
Exactly.
And then they come back with this vigor, with this energy, with this thing. You see, it's probably something, it's a normal thing.
I don't think if there's a way to put people in this sense of, in this state of mind, like there's too much dopamine, like when people like your comments, when people comment on what you post, you feel something, you feel happy and you want to go back and write or do the same thing. I think if they can induce these kind of feelings in people, there's a way to also undo it. That's what I think.
I mean,
You understand?
but it won't sell. It won't sell. It's not where they're profiting from. That is where we need to look at
Of
it.
course.
We need to look at it.
It's like smoking. It's like smoking weed or
cigarette
taking-
or whatever. Anything
or
addictive.
alcohol. When you are addicted to it, it seems like it's impossible for you to get rid of it.
That is true.
There are a lot of people who have come out of it very successfully. You know,
I mean,
but it's the willingness as well, as we said, and always like when we wake up in the morning, it seems like it's like the basic necessity of our life. The Facebook, the Instagram, the first thing people do in the morning is to check their
Absolutely,
Facebook before they even
absolutely.
eat, before they brush. Those people are also doing their work properly. Like they
Exactly.
they are
That is what they're
bombarding
there
you
for.
with it. So you don't even get the chance to see the other options, the other alternative
You
for you
don't.
to be free. You think that's the only way to live your life, and any other thing that try to present itself to you as a solution is a kind of an attack to your personal life.
You don't, man. You don't. So I think we can now include capitalism or maybe money. I mean, it was always reasons for slavery. I mean,
Of course.
we alluded to it. We alluded to it in the previous episode that there were different reasons or there are different justifications of slavery and slave trade. Yeah. So we mentioned religion, we mentioned a lot of things, supremacy, and then there's this going back. I'm actually going back now to when reasons of slavery in different states, in different periods of time. There was a period of time where social Darwinism social Darwinism was part of the justification of slavery. And this was something really I was really curious about this. We made mention of how you remember when we began the beginning of the episode, and I said it's very difficult to cover the whole history of the world with a blanket of the same morality or moral thinking and justice we've come to realize. Now, morality being subjective, objective, that's a different case.
Yes.
But the question here is, all this time, slavery were justified, or even demeaning a sect of people was justified by specific reasons. No matter what reasons you talk about, it's still slavery.
Yes.
My question to you, because you said, because we've had this conversation offline too a couple of times about how is it even factual, or does it even make sense to say you can't look at previous times with the same kind of thinking now? My question is, do you think we will be thinking the same? For example, you and I, or you rather, let me actually throw it to you. Will you be thinking the same if you were living in those times? Say, for example, in Hitler's time, the norm was that the Jews were actually the bad guys, and this is a fact. Almost everyone in that society, if there were people thinking otherwise, we don't really have a lot of people who came out to talk about it. Will you be thinking differently if you were living in the Arab trans-Saharan slave trade period, or say you were Greek or Roman, and then the Romans were taking Germanic people as slaves? Will you be thinking it's bad? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. And I didn't even think about this question before, but as you were talking, I was thinking.
Yeah.
And it's excellent. But I think we need to also understand, like, there are classes of people. When we go back to Karl Marx and the division of people into two classes, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, you understand? You understand that in the society there are two different groups, and one group is very powerful above the other, and they control the means of production and all these ideas and the production of ideas. Yes, of course, it was like a norm or an understanding among the people, a common understanding among the society, that the Jews were seen as problematic to society.
Yes.
But then we also have to ask the question, how did Hitler overcome it? How did people defeat Hitler? That means there are some people who do not agree with what he was doing, who were against what they were doing. Even though when we are talking about the Jewish or any other society that has gone through this, or the Greek or the Arabs or whatever, we don't talk about the resistance army or the class of people who are resisting this. We don't hear about them. All of a sudden, we talk about slavery, and then we say, okay, the British who were very, very integral into this slavery just woke up one day out of their magnanimity. They woke up and said, okay, we are going to end slavery with all the benefit they are getting from it. This is not true. I don't believe it. I think there were some people who were fighting the system.
Definitely.
These things were not right.
Definitely.
So they fight against it. So back to your question, I think it depends on what or which part of the class are you. If you are part of those who are enjoying these things, of course it's okay, it's normal, because you are also brought up within those society.
At the end of the day, yeah.
Yes, but if you are in the other society who are being ostracized, who are being used and beaten and killed, then of course you think it's bad, and then you fight it. So I think for me to decide whether I'll be thinking whether it's bad or not, it depends on which part of the class I am.
Definitely, that is true.
That's what I can say regarding your question. But I think it's very, very important, and it's something that we don't normally think about. We just look at something, and based on our own personal and subjective views, we criticize it.
That is
but we
true.
don't ask ourselves these questions. If you were in those people's position, what would you have done?
I mean,
So-
it's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we might never know, right?
course,
It's
of
all
course.
hypothesis, right? We might really never know what you might be in those also bourgeoisies you're talking about, and then you'll also be against
Still
slavery.
against it, of course.
So
and
it's-
there, as we said previously, there are some people who are part of this modern slavery, but they are fine.
Exactly.
Just imagine if someone sees Facebook as his life. There is no way you can convince that person.
Even
otherwise.
we can make that equivalence with the fact that there were some during the emancipation in the United States, there were some slaves or some blacks who wanted to go back to their masters.
Yes,
You see, it's very interesting. We have to.
it's a reality. It's a
It
truth.
is the truth, yeah. I mean, this is a recorded fact that people actually wanted to go back because they were thinking, how are we going to survive?
They never knew how to live on
Exactly.
their own.
They've never
You understand
felt.
them too sometimes.
So they were born
Yes.
in slavery. They've been slaves for all their lives, and it's very difficult. So the answer to that question, I actually asked myself first before I thought
Yes.
through it, and I
Yes.
came to the conclusion I might never get the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
So the way this kind of questions help is it helps put you in a perspective. It helps you look at things a tad bit differently, I think, right? You can actually try to, if anything, empathize, which you can't, only try to do that, right? So
Exactly.
very interesting. I just wanted to ask you that. And we were asked about this question. One of our listeners asked on the Instagram message. Did you see it?
No.
I don't know. The question was basically, I don't know if I can pull out the question here. Exactly. I don't want to misquote this. I mean, it was very true. The question was she said, okay, hi, is that true? Is it true that slavery existed in Africa before the Europeans arrived? And then we've already answered that in that previous episode. And Africans would capture and enslave other Africans and sell them to people in North Africa, West Asia. And basically she was saying Africans selling their own kind. I've actually read about this. You've probably heard of it, right? That we sold, so basically the Black Americans and African Americans now were sold mostly by their own kind. Have you heard of that argument?
So much, and I'm against it.
It's a fallacy. The argument it doesn't make sense. It doesn't hold water. So why do we think that people are propagating this so much? First, that is why we need to ask. Why is it
Exactly.
that people are all of a sudden saying that Africans sold other Africans or blacks sold blacks? Even some people some African Americans in the United States, they hate, very small minority hates Africans. And this is one of the reasons. They said, you sold us, bro. I mean, you sold my great-great-great-great-grandfather, probably. So, firstly, what do you think about this first? What's your answer to this before maybe I see if I can actually say anything about it?
I've read about this. I've heard it for so many times, and as you said, I don't believe in it. I don't think it's right, and I think it's part of the propaganda that some people who failed to take the responsibility of what they did are still putting across just to put themselves or just to make themselves clean. And I think it's really irresponsible for you to say that. Of course, I've read stories. I've read books that talk about Africans who were forced to sell each other, and there was a reason behind it. The reason why I went to read those kind of things was I was interested why if you've realized it, you can see that there are some group of people in African countries, various African countries, who are living in deep inlands that are quite disconnected from the world. When the world is developing, you go to these villages and these places, you see them, they are far away from what is happening in the world. And I was asking myself, how did they manage to go there? And when you listen to some of their stories, they try to tell you like it's because, according to what their grandparents told them, it's during the time of slavery when people are forced to sell each other. Like, you know, there was a point, according to what I read, there was a point where the Africans realized that our people are being taken away. And some of them decided that we will not allow these people to even pass through our land to take these people away. And some of them were fought with by the Europeans. Some people's villages and towns were burnt down just because they said, no, we will not allow you to pass through with these slaves that you've captured. So it gets to a point that the number of slaves that the Europeans are getting is not enough for them. So now, whoever they see, they just capture you. And if you want to free yourself and your family, you have an option. You either find a slave or you yourself will be captured. So now they put Africans against Africans. So for me to protect my clan, my tribe, I have to also invade another tribe. I take them in and then I give them out and then I'll be free. So people began hunting each other, you know. People would just be hunting each other, and some of them ran away. Actually, they went deep inside, so that because they are weak, they can't fight, so they have to run, to run away, go in inlands, and that is what people are using. And finally, let me say this: I've also read somewhere that within the Jews, as we talked about the Jews, within the Jews, where Hitler was prosecuting them and killing them, there were some group of people who were also working with the Nazi government.
Nazi, yeah, that's
you
true.
You understand? They were selling their own people, but you never hear it.
Actually,
you never hear people saying this: Jews selling Jews. You'll be called anti-Semitic.
Actually, that's true.
But when it comes to Africans, we relax and we say all these things. Yeah.
When she asked me that question, I actually did answer. I hope the answer was okay. To me, this is how it is, right? The question itself is flawed. The question itself is flawed in the sense that Africans or blacks selling blacks indicate that blacks or Africans are the same person. Or we talked about this. It's actually also, let me allude to the unity. What was the episode? African identity. Yes. So that African identity, we have to ask ourselves, when did it start? During the 14th century, did anything like Africa exist? Did we call ourselves Africans? Were we fighting together against the same enemy? No. So here is why it's a fallacy, the argument. When the Greek and Romans captured the Slavs and other Europeans, the Germanic groups, they were the Vikings, they called them savages, barbaric, and all these words. Why don't we say whites enslaved whites? You never hear this argument.
Europeans enslaved Europeans.
Yes. Some of the first slaves in the Americas were Europeans. Some of them were Europeans until, like I said, this social Darwinism started, that there are classes of people, the whites, the less whites, the brown, and like the class of Europeans. So this is where the problem is. Africans then they never knew they had anyone to come together with and then fight the same goal.
They never called themselves Africans.
What we know is it's Fulani against a Hausa, or
Yes.
Mandinka against Kotokoli. Basically, it was tribe against tribe, right? It's nothing else. It's ethnic against ethnic. The African Pan-Africanism, it's a relatively new argument. So
Yes.
we have to be cautious of all these. We really have to be cautious of using the words. It's not Africans selling Africans, it's other ethnic who fought other ethnic in war, and war captives. I mean, when a Fulani then was selling whatever tribe, or a Mandinka was selling whatever tribe, he wasn't thinking, this is my brother. He was thinking, this is my enemy.
Yes, and they never even ask. They never even ask where are these people being taken to. They are just selling their war captives.
Exactly.
You understand? They never ask, and when later they realize that this is what is happening, some of them resisted actually.
Exactly. Yeah. So when Africans were selling other, or what we claim Africans selling each other, is when they realize, as you said, when they realize that it's other people are taking advantage of themselves, of them, they started to fight against it. They started to resist.
Exactly.
And yeah, that might have taken a while, but we can actually see, like I said, we shouldn't be looking through the lenses we know right now. Right now, the lenses we're looking at this is, we're looking at it as Pan-Africans, we're looking at it as Africans, the United Africans, or what we hope to be. That is why it feels differently when people say this. But if they'd come then and then they say that they ask a Bakongo or whatever why he's selling his brother, he'll be like, who is my brother?
Of
This
course.
is my enemy. We went into war and I captured him and I sold him. When Africans started to realize, they started to write letters. King Mvimba of Congo actually wrote a letter. Why is it that I think the French or the Portuguese, I don't remember who he wrote the letter to, but he was trying to say they were capturing the wrong people. So you can actually see the mentality of people then. When they started to realize that, he started fighting against, but unfortunately he was fighting for his own tribe, his own ethnic.
Because
right?
at that time too, there is no sense of united Africa or Africans.
Exactly. That is what, there wasn't African or we. There was no we here. It's disingenuous. This argument is disingenuous in the fact that we don't look at a Greek enslaving a fellow Viking, or a Greek invading the Germanic tribe, calling them barbaric. And now we don't look at it as white on white slavery. We just call them a Greek enslaved a Germanic person.
Even the World War, the First World War and the Second World War, they never said Europeans fighting against Europeans. It's
That
just
is my
Germany
point.
fighting against the British, France fighting against the Spanish.
But when
That's
it comes
how
to
they do.
Africa, you're saying Africans
People
fighting
will
each
try-
other.
Yes. It's only in Africa, or when it comes to Africa, people try to make this kind of
A
unfair,
blanket statement.
of course, unfair statement and blanket statement as well. So I think we need to be very careful, and we need to read our history. And it's the question, whoever the question is coming from, is, I think it's coming from a very genuine
No,
point of.
absolutely. And I know this
understand?
person personal. And if you're listening to this, there's no. I know.
Yes.
I know her personally. She was actually asking it in a more. She wants to know, basically.
And,
way.
and this is the time for us to ask these questions,
Absolutely.
to be able to learn what really happened.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't ask these crucial and critical questions, of course, we just Africans, but we don't know what happened. So I'm kind of very, very appreciative of whoever asked that question. And we need that, actually. It should be interactive. People should ask questions so that we
Definitely.
discuss it. And then they should also give their opinions. And ideas
Absolutely.
on this. And then if there are recommendations on what to read or where to go and get information, we give it out. They can also recommend for us.
Yeah, if we have, obviously, as we've already put the disclaimer out, we're not experts. We're just
Of course.
two people trying to tackle issues that we think are needed to be tackled. And
Exactly.
we thought about slavery, and then if you remember when you told me about it, I was like, there's enough materials. You remember clearly, there's enough
Exactly.
materials on this issue. I don't think we need to rehash this issue. But I thought about it again, and I went into it a bit, and I realized, actually, not really.
There are some things that we don't know and we don't talk about it. It's a taboo to even talk about it. Yeah.
The most documented one is the transatlantic slave trade, chattel slave trade of the white against Africans. And
Yes.
we still do not know about it. There's still people who never knew there were human zoos, for example, in Europe.
Yes.
For real. I mean, the fact that we don't know this, that they took fellow Africans or Africans to Europe and then they captured them like you would capture a lion and then put them in a zoo for
A
people.
cage. And
A
of course,
cage,
people
yes. A group
who
of
come
people
around.
come and then look at them and
They were
then
naked.
entertain.
We should also say that they were naked. Women, men, they were naked.
Yes.
And they just.
There is this black, I think, Khoisan lady. I forgot the name they gave
Yes.
her. Man, if you read about it, it's very sad. It really, really is. There was a statistic that said, I think one of the European countries, almost 80% of people have actually gone to see the human zoo. I mean, it was basically entertainment. And it also comes back to that question. If I was part of that group, would I go and see that people? Would I go and see it as a form of entertainment? That is a question I used to ask myself. But
Yes.
the fact that people are unaware till today of all days from all these informations we have, people are still unaware of this fact. It's sad. It really is. So we need to equip ourselves enough, just enough. You don't need to be Billy
an
Madam,
expert. Yes. You
needed.
don't need to be an expert.
an
you know,
expert on any.
Yeah.
You can just access, ask, read. We really need to equip ourselves with this information. Otherwise,
Yes.
history is bound to repeat itself
Of
in a
course,
different
of
way,
course.
but similar results.
Exactly. And
I'm hyped right now to talk about these things, but
yes,
I'm conscious of time.
Actually, it should be a lesson. You see, in Africa, like a whole lesson in schools.
For
A whole
real,
lesson.
for real, for real.
Yes, people need to know what happened. You need to face your reality. Where
is
you've done some mistakes or you were wrong, you need to accept it, correct it, and then look at the way forward. You understand? But unfortunately, as you said, we don't talk about it. We don't know a lot of things about it.
Very, very quick. When you said about Africans learning about it in schools and other things, I equate it to when you go to Ghana and then you go to the castle. You watch some videos about these people coming back and going around the Osu Castle, Elimina Castle, and seeing what was done to their ancestors.
Yes.
When the Rehber, today,
The instructor.
the guy taking them, or the clerk or whatever,
Yes.
he's taking them around and he's explaining it. It feels like a class. It feels like a classroom. So he's like, this is the place, this is the door of no return. Africans were taken through this door and they never returned. This is the place they captured and kept thousands, hundreds. There's no emotion behind it. That is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
When I went to Çanakkale, around Istanbul, Çanakkale,
Yes.
and we went to the war zone where they were about to get invaded by the West, and they fought, and that is where they got their independence from. When the guy was explaining this, bro, I got goosebumps. The way he was explaining it, he was tearful. He was emotional. He made you feel, if you were there, what would you feel? Like that emotion, the difference between the difference between the two narrations is very different. So
Exactly.
we don't really do this. So we're taking too much time, and we can talk about this days and days and days. I think
It's an ongoing discussion. So
yes. Hopefully, we've been
it will
able
stop.
to actually give our bits on this.
yeah.
And do you have any last words, man?
No, I will just advise brothers and sisters who are listening to us, like, you need to read about your history. Nobody will tell you what happened to you. Nobody is interested in you, actually.
That's a good
So
advice.
if you don't make the effort to read and learn, then you always be bombarded by the same people who enslaved your great grandparents, and then they will tell you who you are and what to do. So our advice, in as much as people will say we don't like reading, you don't have to like it, but you must do it. It's a must, you know.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. All right, man. I think we've got to wrap it here. So thank you for listening to this episode. It was a bit of a roller coaster, but it's all in good faith, and
Yes.
we hope you, wherever you're listening to this podcast, if it's on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, just leave a like, rate us 5-star, and hopefully we can make more episodes of this in future.
Yeah.
Take care.